No doubt about it. The success of your project hinges on the performance of your team. And in this video, I'm going to share with you some game-changing tips on how to craft your high-performing teams. Create a safe environment. This is critical and foundational if you're going to create high-performing teams, because they need to feel comfortable. They need to feel safe that whatever they say or do is not something that they have to always be on guard with. Why is that? Because you want your teams to be honest. You want them to be able to feel comfortable with you so that you can actually resolve issues. One of the things I say a lot when I have project teams is, look at what is said in here stays in here, which also links to the fact that I don't record my meetings because of that specifically. I want that safe environment. If I have a project where everything's being recorded and people don't feel safe, I'm not going to get honest answers. And if you want a high-performing team, you really need to have that safe environment. People need to feel comfortable. They need to know you have their back and you're not going to judge them and turn on a dime and start pointing fingers. So it is really, really critical that we ensure that safe environment. Okay, before we get on to our next tip, I want to bring your attention to this. This is 6 basics to keep your projects from struggling. And how can you get this? I created it for you. The link is below this video. Roles and goals. If you're going to have a high-performing team, then you need to be very clear with everybody's roles and what they're supposed to be doing, along with their responsibility. Now, we also have to talk about goals too. What are they supposed to be achieving? It becomes really critical from a performance standpoint that this is laid out. Now, the good news is you're in project management, so we do this in projects. We lay out roles and responsibilities. So ensure that you do that off in the beginning. Get very clear with the expectations of what everyone's expected to do and get them to sign off on that. In Slate Project Management, we use the charter all the time as that kind of combo document to get all that laid out and signed off on as well. Now, the goals are really important too. What exactly are you delivering? What is everyone supposed to be doing? And the goals of the overall project too. If you're going to have teams be self-sufficient and as well as collaborative, they need to be very clear as to why they're doing what they're doing and to give them all the information at their fingertips. Don't rely too much on one person. Now, if you're going to have a performing team, you need to make sure that everyone can participate and perform accordingly. So you're probably saying, hey, Adriana, that's not possible. I have a developer and they're developing this software. I'm relying upon them. There's no one else who can do it. Now, hold on a second. I recognize that there are some projects and activities, or as a subject matter expert, you're going to have to rely on them. However, here's what's really important. If you're going to have a performing team, you also have to engage in other people as well to help support that particular one person so that you're not solely reliant upon them. You may also want to have that backup as well to ensure if something should happen to that person, it's not impacting you or the project. But high-performing teams help each other out tremendously because they recognize it's not about them as an individual and their task. They all are working towards the common goal of the deliverable of the project. And if that means I need to pick up some things that is not normally in my wheelhouse, like let's say I'm a developer and I need to help the training department create the training documents, because guess what? I'm a subject matter expert and it's going to help them out tremendously, then high-performing teams do that. So again, that's the beauty of really ensuring that you start working on your high-performing teams, because your teams are going to be able to help you really do things in a faster, more efficient way, because everyone's on that same page with the same goal. Before we get to the rest of the tips, I wanted to let you know that not only do I have this great free content here on YouTube, I have this. If you want to go to the next step with me and you want to learn more at a premium level, you can enroll in Slate Project Management. It's the exact process I use for all my clients, including all the tools you'll need. I've put the link in the description box below. Get your team on the same page regarding your project process. This is critical. I can't tell you how often I've seen amazing individuals who could be amazing performing teams struggle because the process of their project was unknown. So everyone started doing their own thing because that's all they had to go on. I'm letting you know it's weight in gold is you need a framework for your projects. You need to be very clear with what you're doing from the start to the middle of the project all the way to the end. So project framework is critical. Now, I also I have Slate Project Management, right? That talks about framework. That talks about how do you run your project. And it becomes really important from a performance standpoint that you educate your team and you share that critical information so everybody knows what is expected from them at every point in progress within your project. Lead by example. If you're going to have and want and need to develop a high performing team, which I always recommend you should do no matter what, then you got to lead by example. Your team looks to you for direction. And whether this is actual through documentation and physically saying things, it's also with what you do. So you have to practice what you preach. That needs to be a philosophy that you have. So if you're asking your team to be open and honest, then you need to be open and honest. If you're asking your team that, they have to report everything on time because that's going to help with performance of what's happening in the project and amongst each other so people aren't waiting for things, then guess what? You have to do the exact same thing. You have to ensure that you are leading by example. Because when you emulate a certain way of doing and being, guess what? It trickles down to the people around you. So if you want to be have a high performing team, then you have to be a high performing project manager. And that is doing the best job that you can do, really ensuring that the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, the thoroughness in what you're doing, and having the backs of your project team members. Really, really important. Okay, so you now know about performing teams. You definitely want to grab this. 6 basics on how to keep your projects from struggling. It is just as important as understanding and getting your team to that performance mode. Okay, so now you know about project team members and how to make them into performance team members. Watch this next video. On that note, if you can like this video, if you really enjoyed the content, drop us a comment,